Good morning, Singapore, and welcome to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. It's Glenn, Angel, FD, and Shalini. And every Tuesday, we're joined by award-winning psychologist from the therapy room, Dr. Geraldine Tan. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, Jerry?
I am good. I'm hearing the feedback, so it's kind of interesting.
Okay, now my microphone is back on.
Feedback from me, Jerry?
Feedback from you?
Maybe.
As long as you're talking, you're giving feedback.
Because if you're saying I sound echoey, then I will have to start singing a song.
Oh, no. You just say you can't hear him,
No.
Dr. Jerry. No, just say no.
Say
You
he's
can't-
fine.
Say, you don't hear him.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what he wanted to do, you see.
Yeah, he was leading you up to it. Don't fall for it. Okay, so today we're talking about self-esteem, Dr. Jerry.
Yes, because after last week's session, there were a few young people that says, oh, okay, it's very exciting. Now we want to talk about self-esteem. And yeah, I have young people in my office.
So just a recap of last week was the shit life syndrome.
It was the shit life syndrome.
And they related to that? Or, I mean, they found it fascinating?
I think a lot, because it's such a popular sort of syndrome, right? It doesn't fall into any clinical diagnosis. It's more relatable to the young people. Yeah. And I think, there was a lot of empowerment there that when we were talking about it.
So this is the same thing. Self-esteem is not anything that falls into a clinical sort of diagnosis, right?
No,
Okay.
but I think it's so important for all of us to talk about it. And I think it was really tough because when I was hearing the news of it last week itself, I heard, and I might not get the story very accurate, 5 deaths in 2 weeks in India, 5 suicide deaths in 2 weeks.
And that's what low self-esteem does, huh?
High school students. I mean, we can look at it from stress, performance, demands, but also our own self-esteem, what we can and cannot do with our abilities.
But there have been quite a few deaths across the world as well of teenagers committing suicide because of social media as well, and their self-esteem not being as high up as
Because
what
they're
they
trying
see.
to attain what they see on social media.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So there are various things that influence self-esteem.
Okay, so why don't we get down to the basics? What is self-esteem?
Yep. So esteem, I think we had kind of touched on esteem many sessions ago. And I wanted to draw out the difference between self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth. Yeah, so self-confidence is, I call it the very fundamental building block of our person, our core. So that would be our abilities. Self-esteem is our recognizing our abilities, believing in our abilities, and respecting our abilities. So that level, sometimes can be unavailable for certain people. And then the top layer is self-worth, how much you value yourself. So very simply put, 3 layers. I mean, if you do Google, there might be 7 layers, but just for today, we'll just break it down into 3 layers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of people get self-esteem, based on what you just said, get self-esteem mixed up with self-worth.
Yes.
They
Yes. So if I were to put it even more succinctly, is whether you trust yourself, that's esteem, whether you trust your abilities. So we haven't valued it yet.
Okay.
I feel like it's so complicated.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many different
Layers,
levels
yeah.
and layers.
Yeah, it is a hard thing to understand.
Yeah, man. Okay, let's continue to talk to Jerry on The Big Show TV. In the meantime, here's 98 Degrees with Invisible Man on 1FM 91.3. Right? I mean, low self-worth
Confidence.
right? Low confidence, feeling depressed. I mean, it's all low self-esteem.
Self-esteem.
Low self-worth doesn't mean low self-esteem. You just park yourself at a lower value. So self-esteem is where you don't respect yourself. Let me see if I can find.
But people who have low self-worth almost always have low self-esteem, right?
They can trust in their abilities. So yes, it's somewhat correlated. If you have low everything, it's easier to have low everything, right?
Yeah.
But you might not value it as much, or you can value it a lot, right? And you might be disgusted with yourself. You might, feel that I have a lot of worth, but I might not really like myself.
Oh,
Right,
yeah, that's
okay.
a good point.
Okay,
I
okay.
see.
Someone can have everything, right?
That is true. Yeah. Yeah.
And
They'd be talented and everything else.
yeah, when he or she shows up, they can look really
Put
really
together.
really put together. They have it all, but deep down inside there are questions, and so they have low self-esteem.
So what causes all these, whether it's confidence, worth, or esteem? Obviously, low levels of it.
Okay, so today we're talking about esteem, right? So we're looking at what kind of breaks down this self-esteem, and it can go all the way back. So when we do therapy work, we sometimes go all the way back. So I think FD will pick up on this, where parents, when they say certain things to their children, and they because they are our primary teachers in our environment, and they shape the way that we see ourselves. So if we keep telling the child that you're stupid, you're no good, you're lousy, I shouldn't have had you, or I shouldn't. Yes, very, very painful. And you start to question yourself. You start to question the person that you are. I mixed up. Okay, so if we say, oh, I shouldn't have had you, then you're worthless. Self-worth is being beaten down. If I say that you are useless, you can't do anything, self-esteem is being hit at and targeted.
Oh, come on. When I was growing up, my mom said that to me all the time.
No, she didn't.
And quite a number of people, sometimes when they're angry,
When
they
they're
say
angry,
things.
they say that. I mean, it was said to me too.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you're useless.
They're useless.
But we ended up okay.
Yeah, but that's, I think what Jerry is saying is a constant beratement and reminder that you shouldn't be on this earth. Your existence is not
Yeah,
needed.
that's-
You're taking up space, and like you're such a nuisance to everyone around you. I think if it's constantly drilled in, you can't help but grow up and feel like you're absolutely worthless.
Yeah, and I think you also said something else about the media, social media, and we know cyberbullies, right? They will just badger the person. They'll just say that, oh, this person, look at this person looks like a clown, and then they'll just keep writing and just, what's the word, doxing the person, is it?
Doxing, yeah. I mean, okay.
But Jerry, let's talk social media for a while. The youth today always wanting to attain what they see on social media, and they can't attain it. Then they go into this spiral. That is self-worth, not self-esteem, right?
So it depends on how they see themselves. If they see themselves and perceive themselves negatively, then that is self-esteem. And if so you will hear things like that. Let me try and see if I can find the script, right? Or they would be the one saying, oh, sorry lah, it's my fault. I cannot do anything. I'm not as good as the next person. I'm not as good as you, So the script is very negative and often putting themselves down.
Is that also self-confidence, though? I mean, they'll look at social media and they'll look at, say, a perfect life that someone might be having, and they're not confident that they'll ever be able to attain that. Is that self-confidence?
So confidence is looking at your abilities, what you have. So they might have it and they can still feel that they don't trust it. They don't trust what they're looking at. So many times I have those right at the top, the C-suite. They have attained really high titles, accomplishments, set in many different conferences, global conferences. They have ability. And when people look at them, they have very high worth, but their esteem can be rock bottom. They're broken inside.
But it can't all be due to upbringing, right? You only brought up the one reason that it might happen is because parents constantly berate kids when they're growing up and all that. What other social media, but what other sort of causes could be behind it?
Well, your environment, right? So your school environment, your work environment, your whole community, how people kind of react to you. Sometimes even if you have a bout of maybe disability or illness, where you cannot function as well as before, and your own esteem takes a beating because you cannot trust what you know you can do before.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's depressing.
It is, yeah.
Let me ask you if this can affect. Some people say that after a woman gives birth, some women, no, I've heard this. I don't know whether this is true. They say that women find it initially very hard to go back to that whole multitasking and everything because, they can't do it. Does that affect self-esteem as well?
So it does, because you expect yourself to be able to do or perform at a certain level, and then suddenly you realize, hey, I might not be as good as before, but that is temporary. It's not it's not prolonged. What might be prolonged is when the environment says, oh, you mean you're still breastfeeding, you're still expressing, and they kind of put you down and say, oh, you're not as good as before. So you're already going through all the changes. You're trying to grapple with getting back into the groove of things. And then the environment kind of like whack you with all these. So that becomes that whole package that can push the esteem down even more.
Actually, it's in all of us, I mean, some people who are watching us and listening to us right now, they may feel, oh yeah, this whole low self-esteem thing will never affect me. But it's all in us,
It does happen.
Yeah, one thing happens and all of a sudden our self-esteem takes a hit.
I mean, my dad's a really confident guy, and right now, as you guys know, he's going through, he's in hospital, he's going through rehab and stuff like that. But his self-esteem has taken a slight tumble.
Absolutely.
Because he's not as independent as he was before.
Yeah. And it's understandable, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
I mean, it's natural for a person to feel that way under such circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So if we look at esteem, right, there is low self-esteem, and then there is inflated self-esteem, and
What do you mean, like Glenn?
Hey,
That's inflated self-confidence, esteem, and self-worth, everything.
that's what you guys think, okay?
No, I never tried to judge someone's self-esteem.
No, but that's interesting though, Glenn. I mean, you always do come off as someone who is very, very overly confident, and you have a lot of. I won't say you have high self-esteem, but you do love yourself, which is a good thing, because when you love yourself, you can give love to other people and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But are there times when you have low self-esteem or
Absolutely.
low confidence?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
When I feel like I'm not doing well at work, or I'm not feeling too good, like when I'm feeling ill, or when I found out I had an ACL and didn't want to go for surgery but had to give up football.
Yeah.
That kind of thing,
Yeah, that kind of breaks you a little bit.
Okay.
But he has a healthy self-esteem.
Yes.
But
So
I
the
just, I
opposite-
always want to keep myself happy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for everyone.
Of
as
course,
well.
yeah, of
Okay,
course.
hold on, Jerry. We're going to take a traffic break. Good morning, Singapore. Welcome to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. It's a Tuesday, and that's why we have with us award-winning psychologist from the therapy room, Dr. Geraldine Tan. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerry.
Good morning. Happy to join you every Tuesday.
Jerry, there's a hell of a question on our Facebook page, and I'd love you to answer it. It's from Damien. He goes, "Good morning, everyone. Question for Dr. G."
Dr. G.
Yeah.
I like that.
Dr.
Dr.
G.
G.
Dr. G. Sound like a rapper. Anyway, the question is, can a person with low self-worth or low self-esteem develop a form of narcissism, as in making everything about themselves to fill the emptiness they feel?
Excellent question. Yes, so if we just look at how it works, right? And it has to be about them. They are no good, they are bad, so they're very consumed by their own negativity about themselves that it is very selfish. It becomes very selfish because they've got no space to think about anyone else. I think Angel touched on that earlier, where there is healthy self-esteem, and then you can look after other people, right? But when you have low self-esteem, you've got no space. So low self-esteem or inflated self-esteem, you've got no space to bother about other people.
Right.
So
okay.
it's not narcissistic personality disorder. So it's not a clinical issue, but they will come across as being very selfish.
That's interesting.
We've all come across
Yeah.
people like that, actually.
Yeah.
And I've never
Yes,
thought of them
yes.
as people. I've never thought of them as people with low self-esteem. I've just thought of them as bloody selfish people.
You mean high
Yes.
self-esteem, inflated?
either-
We're
either
talking
or.
about
I'm
She said
thinking, I'm
either
even, yeah, either
Okay.
way. I've
Yeah.
never
No,
thought
because
of it as
I've
esteem.
always seen people whom we would categorize as having an inflated self-esteem as someone who's compensating for something.
Which is the lowest. I feel people with inflated self-esteem have a low self-esteem.
Yes.
You know
Right,
what I mean?
Jerry?
Because they're trying to overcompensate for what they don't have.
Is
So
that
they're
always
trying
the
to be-
case?
Not really. So low self-esteem, there's a lot of comparison. They look at themselves very negatively, and then they would oftentimes say, "Yeah, it's always my fault. I'm the problem. And they will go in that sort of trajectory. But someone with inflated self-esteem would think of themselves as really good, and no one else is comparable to them.
But
And
aren't
they
they-
say,
aren't they
"Oh,
trying to-
this person is lousy."
We've had some colleagues like that.
But aren't they trying to make up for something by doing that?
Not around already, by the way.
Yeah. Aren't they trying to make up for something?
It may or may not be, so the script they really believe in themselves so much that let me see if I can think of a category. So sometimes we say that they sound very entitled. So they feel that they deserve this, they deserve that, because they deserve it, So that they will come across as being very arrogant.
Why is that? Huh? Is that a neurological disorder?
This is not a clinical disorder that we are talking about.
It's not, right? So just a question. Bullies. Do bullies come from a place of a lack of self-confidence, worth, or esteem?
Okay, we'll talk about
Okay.
bullies on the Big Show TV because we might use like 4-letter words
That's
and all
true,
that.
yes.
All right, here's Fleetwood Mac everywhere on the Big Show and the Big Show TV, 1FM 91.3.
Someone continuously bullies somebody else or a group of people or whatever it is. Do they fall into any one of those categories of not knowing their own self-worth, they're low on self-esteem, or they have no confidence?
Bloody bullies.
So many of them might have low self-esteem and low self-worth.
Okay.
So the esteem part usually is probably very lacking for them. Yeah, but they know what they can do. They know who they are in a group, so their confidence in their abilities can be high. How they where they pack themselves on the worth is probably also quite high, but it's the esteem part that might be lacking.
That's why I like watching the Karate Kid over and over again. The one, the one that
Macchio?
stars Will Smith's son.
Jaden.
Oh, Jaden, right.
Jaden
Okay.
Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. I keep on watching it because they keep on repeating it on HBO.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And I keep on watching it over and over again. Love it.
Jerry, what can parents do when they see their child with low self-esteem? What role does the
berating
parent
them.
Get them to look for Mr. Han.
Because
and
sometimes
he
it's
will
not the
teach-
parent.
He will teach them how to fight.
Okay,
Wax on, wax off.
Yep, karate.
No, the thing is, it may not be the parents. It may be the environment at school that's given them low esteem. The low esteem may come from their peers. What can the parents then do?
Then we need to look at what is healthy self-esteem. So
Yeah.
the opposite of low self-esteem is not high self-esteem. It's actually healthy self-esteem. Healthy self-esteem means that you recognize your abilities and you recognize your flaws. So low self-esteem, you just focus on the flaws. Inflated self-esteem, you're flawless. And healthy self-esteem, you have abilities as well as flaws. So there's a range that we are looking at. And then we look at 4 different aspects that we can buff up.
Okay.
So,
So-
basically, knowing your own strengths and your own weaknesses, and acknowledging them.
It's knowing your abilities and knowing that you can be no good in certain areas also.
So when the parent tries to help this child, right? You're obviously going to try and get the child to recognize the abilities and the flaws.
Yes.
Here's the question. Do I start by recognizing the abilities or do I start by recognizing the flaws?
I'd start with the flaws. I mean, that's what I would do.
Because this person is already so fragile, you start with the flaws. I'm afraid I'll break them.
No, but then it's anticlimax. If you don't start with the flaws and then you bring them up,
Yeah.
at the end of it. But if you start with the high and then you go down to the low, you're
This
like
is why it's,
back at square
it's
one.
confusing for parents, right?
I love the discussion. So I would say that, all of us are like receptacles. So you need that container first. So we need to look at the abilities first. You need to know what your structure is first.
Okay.
And then you look at where the cracks are. So do you know this concept of kintsugi? The Japanese concept where there's a broken bowl or cup and they fill it
Yeah.
with gold to
Yeah.
kind of seal it
Put
together.
it back together, yes.
Kintsugi.
Yeah. Kintsugi. Yeah, so you have the receptacle first, you have that container first, you know what it is, and then you start to work on the other parts that needs to be worked on. So I was talking about the 4 different areas. So there's self-confidence, which is the ability. Okay, and then to know and recognize the self, the identity. Who am I? What am I? So what kind of container am I, right? And then the acceptance, the love and belonging need, where the environment offers that is no matter what, mommy and daddy are still here for you. You can, whoever you are, whatever you are, we are still there for you. And the last one is then how can you do your work or your ability well? Competency. So 4 different areas that the parents can actually look at.
Wow.
Okay, so basically to build a healthy self-confidence, worth, and esteem, it breaks down into the abilities and the flaws. And then the self-confidence, which are the abilities, the identity, finding out who the person is, the acceptance of who they are and all that, and then the competency.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I pass. I'm with gold
Wow,
stars.
You're good,
Yes.
man.
Yes, thank you.
You should be a therapist.
Yes. I'm going to be your understudy now. So anytime you can't turn up on Tuesday, I will be here. Got all my notes.
What, Jerry? What sort of? And I'm dealing with parents because I find this so interesting. What sort of roadblocks will the person with low self-esteem put up for their parents?
Wow. Okay. So, the one with low self-esteem, as they are building themselves, they would blame themselves. It's all my fault, or they would just go along with the flow, because many times people with low self-esteem are people pleasers. So they will always position the other person as correct and I'm wrong. So parents need to be very alert if you fall into that trap, or the child falls into that trap. Oh, you're always right, so I'll just follow you. Yeah. So they need to understand that it is not because the parent is always right, but we are trying to build up certain areas for you.
So are you saying that people who are people pleasers constantly, like, yes, people are people with low self-esteem?
Oftentimes we see that trait in people with low self-esteem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it could be that
Yeah.
they just don't want to offend anyone.
It on the surface it looks like that. So they struggle actually in the work environment because they will always go yes, yes, yes. They, somebody gives them something, they would say yes to a point that they break.
Okay,
And
hold on, Jerry.
they don't
Hold on.
have
We're going for
boundaries.
another traffic update. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Good morning and welcome back to The Big Show and The Big Show TV. It's Glenn, Angel, FD, and Shalini because Shaun is on leave for the rest of this week. We have with us on Tuesdays award-winning psychologist Dr. Geraldine Tan, and today we're talking about self-esteem.
Yes, we are. And it's so funny, I can influence FD. La 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 la.
Yeah.
Jerry, we've been talking about self-esteem, mainly low self-esteem and all that. So, what do we do to get a healthy level of self-esteem? What do we do? What should we be doing? What kind of attitude should we have?
So how does it look like, right? Okay, so you need to learn how to express your needs and opinions. So for those that are listening in to Glenn, FD, and Angel, and we cannot hear Shalini, but for the three of you, you would just express yourselves, which is a representation of healthy self-esteem. Whatever you have on your mind, speak it out. Yeah.
But think before you say.
But then parents should be encouraging their children to speak out.
Yes. So a lot of times our Asian parents tend to hush up our children.
Yes, like shut up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Just shut up right now. Yeah, right.
Don't speak until spoken to.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as the child isn't rude, right? But it's also very subjective. But sometimes they need to share their opinions, whether it is comfortable to the ears or not. The children have their own opinion, and we do need to listen to them.
But you're right though, because Asian parents do bring up their kids as in you're meant to be seen, not heard. Right? I mean, don't speak up to you, don't
talk back.
Don't talk back to your elders, nobody was talking to you and stuff like that. So this is really a message for the parents and the older people, right? The ones who have kids or are dealing with younger people.
Yes. And that will also encourage them to learn how to go with their decisions. So sometimes that confidence that you take in making decisions also come from that interaction. Because we always say, oh, don't be scared, go and do it. But if they cannot take that decision on their own and make that decision, and we don't encourage that, then they will always stay in that space or realm of fear.
Yeah. It's fear.
It's fear, yeah.
Fear.
Well, you see, this is the thing.
problem.
When I was growing
Always.
up, I was this children are supposed to be seen, not heard, right? And I grew up with that. And when I had my own children, I thought back and I said, no. If you have something to say, you must say
You
it.
should, yeah.
And I just want to say to parents, sometimes what they say will be very painful.
Yes.
But you have to be there to accept it because it's what they feel.
It's very hard for me to believe that you were that kind of a kid. You know? It's like
Yeah.
not being able to express yourself, just to be seen and not heard.
This-
You look like the kid that parents will have to say shut up to
No,
all the
this
time.
is why I talk so much now.
So how did you overcome that?
Are
Were
you sure?
were you
Yes.
not a confident kid?
I overcame that in secondary 3. I had a teacher. His name was Iba. He told me, he said, you don't speak. But when you open your mouth, you're so beautiful to listen to.
Oh.
So for goodness sakes, open your mouth. I don't care what you have to say. And he just gave me that ability to open up. And it's never stopped. It's never stopped.
Constantly flows.
And I wanted to bring that to my
Yeah.
kids. It does.
Yeah,
It flows.
it flows.
And I wanted to bring that to my kids. Because if you shut them up, you will never know what's happening with
who
them.
they are. Yeah.
You'll never know. Is that
Yes.
what parents should be doing? It is, right?
The affirmation, so the affirmation is given, but I want to add another dimension to it,
Okay.
right? It needs to be sincere and honest. So this teacher gave a very sincere and honest opinion,
Yeah.
and he was daring enough to give that to you and affirm you.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes parents are very patronizing, or teachers can be very patronizing. Now, that is not sincere and that is not honest. It would simply shut the person more because they children can read, or people can actually read when you're insincere. So
Yeah,
that
for sure.
makes them even more undecided if they want to tell you or share or even to make a certain decision.
Okay, let's continue this conversation on The Big Show TV. In the meantime, here's Jennifer Page with Crush on 1FM 91.3.
Sitting back there and just learning today.
Yeah.
Because this is an amazing
It's very hard for
discussion.
parents to not tell their kids to keep quiet. Because kids sometimes, right, can get out of control, you see. So they want to set a standard, right? And so they'll start telling their kid, look, don't speak unless spoken to or whatever.
But there's a time and a place for everything, right? And if your child
But
understands
sometimes parents want to keep it consistent, right? I don't know whether it's still the case now, because I
Yeah.
feel like many parents want their kids to express themselves.
Yeah.
But it certainly was the case for us when we
Yeah.
were growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I give you an inch, you're gonna take a yard.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
I think the balance is when parents know that the child has something to express. I mean, it's different from just verbal diarrhea where they're just talking for the sake of talking. But when there is a certain emotion that they want to express, there's a certain feeling, there's something deep down inside they need to get off their chest. I think parents will be able to tell the difference. So they can tell the child to still shut up because there is a time and place to say everything. But then when they really need to express themselves, then the parents should make time to listen and sit down.
Yeah, so what you're saying, right, is when parents know there is an appropriate time, appropriate space to speak about things, they encourage the child to speak, and they are not putting down the child. I think that's important. Yeah, because children can speak, so there are those that are very passive parents and they let the children speak, and the children speak and with no filter at all.
Yeah.
But that's not appropriate also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we talk about lower self-esteem, it's more the other way around. Like everything you say gets put down. So it's not only that the parent hush the child up, but also they put down whatever the child has to say. Whatever you say is useless. Whatever you say is just nonsense. Whatever you say, it doesn't. It's utter rubbish, literally. So that's when the children would then learn not to talk at all, rather than simply just hushing the child up. So it's more than that.
But actually, as long as it's just towards their parents, I think it's fine. Because, I mean, when I say this, I mean, like, some kids, right? When they look at their parents, they don't look at their parents as friends, right? They
No.
look at their parents as parents.
yeah.
And back in the day, that was appropriate.
Yeah.
But as the years went by, like FD prides himself on treating his kids and getting his kids to treat him as a friend as well as a parent.
Yes.
Yes.
But that concept did
Was
not
not,
exist
no.
during our time.
No.
And it wasn't wrong for our parents to feel like they just wanted to be treated as treated as parents.
There was a hierarchy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Right? But things have changed now, Jerry. Do you think this is for the better, or is this going to lead to problems?
That the children are a bit more expressive and
Yes.
the parents are a bit more permissive.
More
It
equal.
only-
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at the human being, we evolve, and evolve means we get better and better. Yeah, so I think it's always for the better as long as we know how to balance that a little bit more for ourselves. But I actually do want to say this because we keep blaming the parents, right? If we talk about teens and youths, right, they go through a stage of a little bit of insecurity, actually.
yeah, for
So
sure.
it's not just the parents, and it's not what the parents do. Let's not always blame the parents. But I think I would speak for some of the youths and the teens, because I was told to talk about mask fishing.
What's mask fishing?
So when you hide behind a mask, so it started in Korea with I think on the internet with catfishing, where guys masquerade as women. So mask fishing is I look better with my mask. I think that is what simply put, and they hide behind literally a mask, and now with COVID, everybody looks better upwards.
Oh, dear.
That's
Yeah.
true, actually. Sometimes I feel the moment they take off the mask, I'm like, oh, all
That's
right.
the rest of your face?
Nice eyes. Very nice eyes. Beautiful.
So Jerry,
No.
with this mask and hiding yourself,
Yes.
where do we draw the line between low self-esteem and an inferiority complex?
Or maybe that's for another day, I think.
Is it something we should deal with next
Is
week?
that something for another day? I don't know. I think we have kind of run out of time, but then it's an interesting thing to talk about. We can talk about mask fishing next week
Yeah.
after if you want
Yeah,
to.
Week after.
absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
I would
I think
also
that's
love,
really
if you
interesting.
touched on it at any one of the weeks about narcissism.
Yeah, that's
I
another
mean, I think
thing.
that's a great topic
okay.
as well.
Yeah, these are great topics to
yeah.
touch on.
I was
Now
quite
we've got
narcissistic
topics
once
for
upon a
the
time.
next couple of weeks.
When I was bodybuilding.
Really?
Yeah, because you look at yourself in the mirror all the time.
Yeah, that's, but you
I like
have to.
how my
But-
biceps are looking.
No,
at
but
me.
surely that's not narcissistic. You're bodybuilding.
But it's
to
good, though.
No,
to develop
narcissistic
that.
is when you look at yourself and you're like, I love you. You're so handsome
Yeah, lah,
today.
like
Yeah, were you?
every morning when I look
Oh.
at myself in the mirror, I'm like, I love you.
Like, look at you.
Mwah. Yeah,
I don't know. I look at myself in the mirror now in the morning and it just fogs up.
Oh, dear.
you can't kiss yourself right in the mirror because your nose gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
Your lips
Yeah.
can't touch the
Cannot,
mirror.
won't
Oh,
reach.
dear. So mean. Okay. Final words, Dr. Jerry.
I don't know. I've got two things if you can indulge me.
Yes,
So one
absolutely.
for everybody. And if we can just take a deep inhale and spread your face and your lips into a big smile. Exhale. And tell yourself, I've got this.
I've got it.
I've got this. I've got this.
A very simple exercise. And
I've got
and-
this. Oh, sorry.
My goodness, the whole table
Wow.
shook.
I don't know why I went to bang the table.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So aggressive.
Yeah, no aggression. Just I've got this. And I've got a quote from Michael J. Fox. So he's one of the favorite actors from Back to the Future. If
Yes.
oh no, I showcase my age again, but it's okay. Yeah, and he's really
Hold on, Jerry.
Let's
Jerry,
do this on
we'll
air.
do the end part on the radio, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Stand by.
Okay.
Big Show TV. It's Glenn, Angel, FD, and Shalini Susan. And our guest for this morning is Dr. Geraldine Tan. Just in time, Jerry was about to sign off with a quote.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Jerry.
Yes, and it's by Michael J. Fox, someone that is really respected. I mean, I really love Back to the Future. But also in the later years, he's got Parkinson, and my mom has Parkinson's also. So it's really a topic that is very close to my heart. But this is his quote. He says, "One's dignity may be assaulted, vandalized, and cruelly mocked, but it can never be taken away unless it is surrendered."
Wow, I like
nice
that.
one.
Wow, very nice.
Very
Amazing.
good one.
Very nice.
Yes,
Love
and
Michael
I will
J. Fox.
see you week after with mask fishing.
Yay!
Mask fishing.
All right.
All
You
right,
got
that
this,
sounds,
Jerry.
Sounds interesting. All right, Jerry, you have a nice week ahead and a good National Day week
National
the following
Day.
week. Yeah?
Yes, and same to all of you too. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Take care,
Dr. Jerry.
Jerry.